So we got a quorum, so I apologize once again. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order and we'll do the roll call. Bill Groves, Commissioner.
Craig
Susan Dowling, Commissioner.
Michael Whitehouse,
George
Commissioner.
Nathaniel, Commissioner.
Robert Boris, Commissioner.
Justin Primo, Commissioner. Or I guess Vice Chairman now.
Correct, but you're still a commissioner.
Okay.
All right, we do have a quorum. So with that, I am going to go to public communications. And Lauren, do we have any? Is that a no?
Maybe she blew her out there too.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, well,
Bill, if I could interrupt,
sure, please.
she had previously stated we had two public members,
Oh my God.
members of the public. I think it was Larry Dunn and Liz Raybeck. So I don't know if they've been elevated and been allowed to speak. Elizabeth has her hand up.
Okay, I see Elizabeth. Elizabeth, please,
Yes.
you have the floor.
Oh, okay. Good evening, members of the commission. I just have one point to make. I want to commend you on the draft items that you'd like to see put in an agreement with the data center company. And I just want to say that at the council meeting on Tuesday, there were at least a few, possibly more, real experts on various aspects of that involve the data center, and they were all given 2.5 minutes. I mean, Lynn Marshall is a PhD audiologist who spent her career helping the Navy develop sound protection systems for Navy people. And Jesse Stratton was, I think, Deputy Commissioner of Deep on the side of renewable energy, and knows a huge amount about generators, cost benefits of various kinds of energy sources, etc. And I would just suggest that before you send in this document, that you pause and collect some more information from the experts in key areas that are readily available to you in town. That's it.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And Larry, would you like to speak, please?
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate, Bill, our joint exercise the other day. As I listened to the discussion from the town council meeting, I mean, the only thing that wasn't addressed in the list of items we put together, I think, was being more specific on tier 4 generators. So my only suggestion would be to kind of enhance that bullet point to add that. And other than that, I'm going to keep quiet. If you do have any questions for me, I'll be happy to jump back in. And as a point of information, on Monday, it's our regular Conservation Commission meeting, and we're going to be talking about the same topic from a different angle, obviously.
Thank you very much, Larry. Okay, with that, we were going to move on. No other public speakers or public communications?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you, Lauren. Okay, next we're going to move on to the approval of minutes for February 3rd, 2022. Any changes, additions?
I make a motion.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Craig has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes have been approved.
Hang on, I abstain. I did
Yes,
not-
George, please.
I didn't attend, so I'm abstaining.
Thank you for your abstention. Please note that, Lauren. Okay, I was unable today. We had a meeting for the mastermind group that we've asked Michael to basically head up, and I believe Robert was able to attend. I got sucked into another Zoom meeting at 9:30, so I just couldn't get out of it. So I'm going to let Michael take over, and Robert, any input you might have on it, how the meeting went. I know Sam hosted it, so thank you, Sam.
Looked into a Zoom meeting, sounds like something out of like a 90s horror movie. You're walking by a
Yes.
computer, just whoosh.
And it
Um,
never ends.
So, yes, so we did have a meeting. We talked about actually a couple of ideas that start with the mastermind. The first is to not call it a mastermind because most people don't know what that means. Instead, we'll call it the Groton Business Owners Roundtable because that's a little clearer and it kind of says what it is on the tin, as my English friends say. So the concept would be to run it. We need to pick the date, but Robert actually has a conference room in his office that we can use because we decided that it might be more appealing if it's not in a municipal space because it's supposed to be a business to business kind of idea. And so we need to put together some copy to share. The concept we came up with basically focus on the problems that business owners have and that they will find solutions there. So talking about some of the key challenges, supply chain technology, labor shortage, inflation, that kind of stuff. And the concept of it will be there'll be once a month in the morning, probably 8 a.m. We're working on figure out the date. And business owners will come and they'll bring the challenges they have. And, like someone will come in and say, yeah, I'm having the darndest time keeping staff. And other people in the room, maybe they're not having a problem keeping staff. And they say, well, I was having that problem and I tried X, Y, and Z and I found them very effective, or I found this to be a good place to recruit, or, whatever. Basically, the assumption is that there's only a finite number of challenges local businesses face. And there's a good chance you put a bunch of people in the room that I bring up a problem, Robert solved that one, Robert's got a different problem, Bill solved that and can share what he's learned. And so that's the concept. And then longer term, what this may lead to is giving us on the EDC a better sense of what's going on at the business level, because we'll be there at the meeting, hearing their challenges as they're solving them, and also hearing their opinions about things. So if there's a development idea or something that information is not propagating out, we'll be able to hear directly from the people who show up to the roundtable what they think, and we can ask them like, oh, where'd you hear that, or where'd that come from, so that we can focus on getting good information out so the public can make better decisions. Another thought we had was that this could evolve into a second group, which is more focused on roundtable solutions for town challenges. So this would be for individual businesses. I've got problems in my business. I've got solutions. I want to help my business. But in the future, we might try to put together another group, which would be more about the town's got challenges. Let's sit down together, bring in realtors, developers, business owners, elected officials, town staff, to just kind of have an open conversation around a table of how can we get more housing? How can we develop Route 12? How can we, all these things we want to do, sort of in a free flowing format, not quite as structured as the EDC, but people can drop in and say, I've got some ideas, I've got some resources, let's put them together and solve it. But the first step is putting together this first roundtable group, the mastermind group. And so I need to write some copy for it and connect with, so I'm going to go back and forth with Robert on email to figure out some copy and some dates, and then we're going to promote it out through social media and personal invitations and the EDC email list, and maybe get a skywriter, get some banners in the sky, spray painted on the road, something like that.
Thank you, Michael. Robert, anything to add, or Sam?
I can't add to that. Very well said, Michael.
Yeah, agreed. Sounds good.
So now, since we had set this up, and I believe before I set it up as a subcommittee, so what I would ask is when Lauren sends out those subcommittee reports, which we haven't had, for a while now, is just to be able to get something into the package so the commission can actually have something before the meeting. And then if needed, I'm not going to put you on the spot every month, but if you have updates or anything you want, just make sure that myself and Lauren know. I'll make sure it's on the agenda for discussion standpoint.
Okay.
Thank you guys very much. And anything else I can do or anyone else can help support, let us know.
And there seem to be some questions.
Oh, go ahead, Justin.
When this whole topic came up a few months ago, several months ago, and Michael, I can't remember if it was you or George who talked about outside consultants, not just necessarily in town, but getting people from out of town to donate an hour of their time to help a community. And I believe, George, you were saying like, there are people who get paid $10,000 an hour to do this. But there's also people that are willing to help out, who have business experience.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
I think
I feel like, Michael, I feel like it'd be a better sell if we had a special speaker every time.
I think that's something that has to evolve, but Michael, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So the idea is just to be a roundtable, peer-to-peer thing for this. And if we determine that there's a common need, that there's not a solution around the table, that's where we could, go to our resource, say, who can we find who might come and speak to that particular thing. Because the thing is, there's hundreds, thousands of businesses in town. If we get 10 or 15 people to come to this, it's a successful event because they're getting solutions. And it's a rotating group. It's not always the same people. They can come up with some ideas. They might share it with other business owners they know. So this is not going to be something that's going to move the needle in a dramatic way. It's more for the people who are involved. We get information, they get solutions. It's a way we can provide value to those who might need it. But it's a good idea. If we identify there's particular areas, and 3 or 4 people in the room say, "Oh yeah, I'd love to get someone to come in and talk about whatever the thing is," then we can leverage our networks and find someone who's willing to come and speak.
So basically right now it's neighbors helping neighbors.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Which is the concept of mastermind, is my understanding. George,
Yeah,
your hand was up.
So, thank you. So, Michael, I know you have boots on the ground for a lot of things, aside from the fact that now you're living in the town hall annex. But are you taking off an idea from your BNI network in this mastermind program? Because there's a lot of good thought process that goes with the BNI that you could absorb with this mastermind group that you're co-opting. That's number one. Number two, I wanted to ask if you're doing this meeting just once a month, and whether, since you're already on the ground so much more than the rest of the commissioners, whether it permits you to actually do this on a fortnightly basis, because it also helps boost your own profile in the activities that you're doing as well. And that could also benefit the commission on a double time. And thirdly, with this, since the change of the name from mastermind to business, where do you think this would stand with the former GBA, Groton Business Association, that is part of the Mystic Chamber? Does it exist within the chamber as a separate body in some shape and form? Could they be absorbed into your endeavor instead of replicating or many things that we are trying to achieve?
Let's see. So first, so BNI's structure is very different from the mastermind structure. It's much more of like people have to commit to showing up every week. So, and more about networking than solution creating. So BNI is a great structure, but not what we're doing.
The frequency.
Oh, frequency.
Michael, we talked about monthly.
Yeah. So we're talking about monthly, but there was the thought that if this spins off into that second kind of community action group to do, to go from neighbor. So the first one would be neighbors helping neighbors, and then it would be neighbors helping the community. And that might be also once a month, which means together it would be fortnightly between them. And in terms of the GBA really only exists in our hearts and memories at this point. Like there's no people attached to it. It has no structure. It may be a committee on paper, but it doesn't, to my knowledge, actually do anything. But we are drawing on experience from the GBA and things that worked and didn't, because the GBA was a group of very dedicated and hardworking people, but they weren't people who could make things happen around the table. So they weren't their audience, and they weren't the stakeholders. They were people who were, you know, running the events and whatnot. But one of the round table is for people who have the challenges to come in and get solutions from each other. And then the second group would be more of trying to get people around the table who could actually make it happen. So, you know, bring in some developers to the conversation, bring in some real estate people. So you could say, you know what we should do? We should build a such and such in this way, and also bring in the people who might object, have them in the conversation as well. So you say, yo, we should build a 5-story apartment building on Route 12. And someone say, I wouldn't like that. I think a 3-story building is all we need there, and actually hash it out and then say, okay, great. Well, I've got some connections. I've got some funding resources. I've got and you know, ideally this would be the kind of group that around the table, we could actually come up with solutions instead of having to go out to New York and Boston and do that. It'd be around the table, people saying, you know what Groton needs? We need a bowling alley. No, we have bowling alley. We need a roller rink again. Let's build one. And around the table, there might be the resources to do that, and can actually make things happen right there, by putting the right people in the right room.
So then I would suggest, to make it easier for our broader community at large, it would also behoove your grouping to have a one page of succinctly explaining what the role and the mission of this group is, so that people don't conflate the role of what you're doing with what's happening in GBA, what's happening in Mystic Chamber, what's happening in Eastern Chamber, what is happening with BNI, and thinking that, you know, they're just more groups of doing the same thing. So if you can put that into succinct one pager, we could actually, ideally, if Sam could help, have it posted on the website as well, and that create some kind of awareness for more members to join you.
Yep.
The other venue.
That's why we're doing one at a time too. So I was starting with the round table, just focusing on that first, and then seeing where that goes.
Yeah, but then again, you want members on the round table, unless you.
Right. Yeah. So we will be doing that. We'll be making.
So you want to make it be aware, and even at whatever stage, at the earlier stage, that such a grouping exists, instead of making it as a post affair. And lastly, I also wonder, and Paige is probably a better person than I, we do have an innovation place in Groton, which is Groton, New London, TRIP, which is based out of Eastern Point Road. They do have facilities there as well. And since this is a way of augmenting and facilitating small business and innovators and entrepreneurs, they are obliged to also facilitate you in their premises to some degree, because the state is giving them money. Paige knows this as vice chair, and that will give you a locus as well, that all the other businesses that are in that facility to also participate with you. And they're gonna, I mean, I don't know what Bob Roberts' cafeteria situation is at his office, but they have a nice coffee and counter and whatnot for tea and etc.
I did forget about that.
Paige is the best person for that relationship. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Anyone else? Once again, Mike and Robert, thank you for your efforts on this. And as I said, our job as commissioners is to support it, because I think it's just another tool we have as that primary focus for EDC is reaching out. It's just another way of reaching out. So once again, thank you. Okay, next up, this is for the data center proposed. And I want to, for one, clear up, because I know some people kind of voiced from our last meeting of little confusion on it. So I had Larry Dunn on last month's meeting, really to give an overview of data centers in general, just for an information. Paige was nice enough to send me over 2 small novelettes of more current ones that I did go through before the forum that we hosted, which was very short notice, and unfortunately we couldn't meet before it. Just to get a better understanding of what everything was being proposed, because we kind of were brought into it a little late. So we did host with the jointly with the Conservation Commission, Larry and myself, last week. Very well attended, a lot of people on Zoom. In general, I thought it went very well. The majority were very polite, straightforward, and had some very legitimate issues that they arose. So what you see in the package is basically Larry and myself summing up some of the ideas. But let me preface this by saying, just to understand why we are where we are is in, let's see, I don't know what the exact date of this, I got it dated here from the town manager on 2015, but the governor signed into law an act which basically provides for data centers in communities. And what it does is it exempts them for a period of time, either 20 or 30 years, from property tax and state tax, stuff like that, to be able to put these data centers in. That being said, they have to have a municipality to host them. So there's a couple little things that have to go in, and that's really, this is in the town council's court. They're the only ones that'll be making a decision on whether going forward with entering to the agreement or not. So this was really to try to get the feedback and such. In lieu of those property taxes, there is a fee that the developer would be paying on an annual basis to the town, which is anywhere that the minimum, I believe, in Paige, please correct me, is $500,000, but it can go up to $1 million, $1.5 million, depending on what they actually are building and come up with the final presentation. So that goes right to the general fund. It doesn't come in vis-a-vis taxes and such, but there is a structure in there where the town is compensated by the developer, albeit it's not the same that we would collect if we were actually just assessing taxes to the value of these facilities. And there's a big difference between the two. Just to give you an idea, he couldn't, when Tom presented this, Tom Quinn, taxes on with all the equipment and everything in there could be anywhere from $5 to $6 to $6.5 million. So you look at it and say, wow, look at all this money we're losing. I look at it a little differently. You'd have to have a like business to go into that property in order to collect those types of taxes on it. So, you can't really compare it that way. So that's part of, from the economic development standpoint, that there is a stream of revenue that comes for it. So all these things that are listed here, we didn't have a priority, and Larry just mentioned there's different levels of generators, a level 4 being the highest, much more friendly to the environment and the way they are, I guess, muffled, and also from the emissions from them. Everything on this list, I would say that Tom Quinn was receptive to. That there wasn't really anything in there that he was, saying, oh, we couldn't do that. That would prevent us from moving forward and such. So that's why I wanted you to have basically what all the items that were brought up. And really the ball is in the town council's court now. We just kind of gave our recommendations from what we got as feedback. From an EDC standpoint, we don't have anything in front of us. We don't have this is the set plan. This is where it's going, and everything makes sense, and the cost analysis and such. So I wanted you to all be aware of it, and then open it up for any other questions, because having Larry on or a hosting thing had no standpoint of where we stand or the opinion is this good for the town of Groton? I lean to, if they meet all these recommendations, there was nothing that was a negative. In fact, there were positives for the town as I understand it. So purely from an economic development standpoint, given that the criteria are met that the town council sets to them, and they're in agreement to. So with that, I'm going to open it up. Anyone has questions, I'll answer as best I can. Paige might be able to help also. Robert was there. He did stay through the whole thing. God bless him, because it did go a long time. It was from 6:30 to 8, and we finally had to say, okay, we're done because we couldn't do it anymore. But
I'd just like to say, I don't know if there's something that we can do at however this ends up with the town council approving or disapproving or moving forward. Maybe we can have a root cause analysis of what we can do in the future better to maybe present the facts. I know it gets emotional, and it got, people brought some good points in the public forum, and I'm always a proponent of having tons of that and making sure the voices are heard. But one of the frustrations I have when I see projects like this is when facts are distorted or confused in an emotional argument. So I think, the underlying issues of, what the development would generate in revenue for the town and what a vacant lot will generate for the town. Like you said, Bill, earlier, about apples to apples. And also just a discussion of the tax abatement issue is a state level issue. Like, that's not something that the municipality has agreed to. We're at the stage of them deciding whether to sign on to bringing that in. So I just think there's a couple things, and I don't know whether there's any better way to do it than it's been done, but it may be a good thing for us to review and just see if there's any more analytics that we present in a different way, or distribute facts through different channels before this better. But I think the public forum was a great opportunity for that, and we should sort of have assessment of how that worked out.
Robert, I couldn't agree more. The issue with facts on this case is very similar to what we dealt with the Mystic Education. We don't have the facts that I would look for. We have a lot of fear where we theoretically will put the building, theoretical with the ledge, because
Right.
It's like the cart's got to come first, and that's just how the state had it set up. So you're right, it does open up a lot of area for misinformation and making and accusatories, and we don't have a plan in front of us. We don't have a cost benefit analysis in front of us, because none of that stuff's been pounded out yet. So this is really the purpose as I see it, though I was happy to co-host, because I think it's something that we try to, work with conservation on, because we're not anti-conservation in the way of pollution and something like that, is to, okay, here you guys go, give us your feedback, and that goes back to the town. If it gets to planning level, it still has to go through that whole process. That's when we would be more involved. And we never even got into Mystic Education. We never got that opportunity to get into, here's the plan that's been presented to planning and zoning and such. So I hear you, it is frustrating.
And I just, to add to that, I noticed that a lot of residents were getting frustrated because we didn't have a plan. I don't think they understood, it wasn't conveyed that that's how the state set the system up. That it may not be a great system. It is a frustrating thing, but that is, statutorily how the process goes. So, yeah,
We preface that. I don't think people wanted to hear that aspect of it at this point, but I hear you. Right.
Yeah.
It's a communication point.
right.
Anyone else? Yes, George.
Seeing all the vitriol online and elsewhere in person, I would like to compliment the town and the OPD for actually even facilitating such a dialogue, hosting this conversation. And it's sad to see that they are getting blamed, or they are being rocks being thrown at them for even enabling this civic discourse. So I would like to have it on record, this appreciation on my end at least for the town's OPD and the ED staff for facilitating and hosting this public discourse as a neutral third party. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Paige, hands up.
Thanks. I had to switch over to my phone, having a computer problem. It's like everyone is.
Join the
But,
club.
I appreciate George's comment, but I also want to give a lot of credit to both Larry Dunn and Bill Groves for stepping up and willing to put themselves out there. There really was, it was an open framework. The goal was to have this developer present so that people can hear it straight from the source, and then allow people to ask questions. And I think did it, and it went, I don't know, I think it was maybe 2.5 hours or so. And it did serve that role. Is it intended to satisfy every detail? No. But I do want to give a lot of credit, not only to town staff, but also those two chairs, because I thought that was appropriate. Both economic development and environmental protection can go hand in hand, particularly in New England, when we're dealing with a lot of needs, a lot of sensitive land areas. And I think we're going to see more and more of these types of projects that come forward. And it's not a one or the other. It's really a balance of both. And I think Groton wrestles with trying to find that balance, and we need to do better. But I think more discussion, more forums, although painful at times, I think that's definitely the way to go. But thank you to both of the chairs.
Thanks, Paige. Anyone else? Well, as I said, at this point, it's in the council's hands. I mean, we leave it to them, and I would look forward to that if it does in fact move forward, that there is, in my opinion, from the presentation, from my reading, from even the dollar, the fees that would be, brought in, because this is light industrial property. This isn't property that, but there is residential around it. We will probably have a little bit more input if a lot of these criteria are met. So in general, I thought it was a positive, even though at the time it didn't feel so positive, but it's that's, I think, where we're moving as an EDC is we really need to open up the lines of communication to the community with stuff coming in, and also to the businesses that it impacts. So, okay, so we do have new business. Sam was not able to speak last month to it, but there's a really neat budget simulator that they've put together, and I've also now been included on the ARPA committee for the town itself. And so in the greatergroton.com, which I have to speak to a lot, that Sam did a great job with, and I encourage everyone to use it as a resource and spread it out to other people, because it's probably one of the better tools that not just businesses, but the community in general can tune into to see what's going on. But the budget simulator actually allows input, where people in the town can actually say, here we have all these funds that are allotted to us, and saying, well, how should these funds be allocated? And the town, the staff takes all this information in, and then they have to, of course, relay it over to people that have their own opinions on how the money should be allocated. But that's where also EDC should have some input on, because it directly could impact some of the things that we're looking to do here. So Sam, I'm going to pass it over to you so you can do your little presentation.
Great. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the chance to just take a couple minutes to walk you through the interface for the tool. I'll share my screen in just a minute, but as Bill mentioned, the greatergroton.com website is a tool. Lauren has been instrumental in this, Tabitha from our staff as well, put this together. And so what the leading purpose of it was to collect data about how to allocate the American Rescue Plan funds, or the ARPA funds. We received $8.6 million, and we've got the long-term recovery committee is really responsible for making a proposal to the town council. But as part of our public outreach and data collection, and really part of a needs assessment, we're using the greatergroton.com platform to include information, give people backgrounds, about the program and the process, let them chime in with what their ideas are, what they'd like the money to be spent on. And now we're at the stage where we created the budget simulator, which is another digital interface. It's really pretty new to the industry, and we're starting to get a good response, but I'd love to get your help in trying to get the word out. And so let me just show you what it looks like. I don't know if you've all been to greatergroton.com. I see it on my screen now, and let's see here. So, second. All right, so here it is. So now this is pretty simple domain name. It actually works really well on mobile devices as well. And you end up featuring these projects. Right up front here is how should Groton spend our recovery dollars. But just also, as you go down, here's the small business forum, which I've described in the past. So just as an aside, leveraging the same tool to create a way for folks to be able to log in, join this discussion forum, see what other people are talking about. And it's just one more avenue for people to either solve problems amongst themselves, but also to state the issues that they're having. And, that'll feed into the roundtable as well. Every avenue we can take advantage of to get this kind of data is going to be useful. So going back to the primary page, and then I'll just show you this ARPA page. We're given $8.6 million. This is the page that summarizes all the details about the dollar amounts. But right here in this yellow box is the link that takes you to the budget simulation tool. And so this is an interface. It works on the phones as well. The introduction talks about how this data it's not binding. It's really just to feed into the needs analysis and to inform the prioritization of the spending. But just so you can see how straightforward this is, all the line items have been given default values based on the work that the staff and the committee have done to date. But in any case, you can see you can actually increase a dollar amount or decrease a dollar amount that is allocated. And right now, this big gauge at the top is red, and it's indicating that I'm $5 million over because I've got 13.6 million and I only have 8.6 million to spend. Pretty sure that I can't even submit it until I find a way to take all that money down to where we can get down to below 8.6. So we've had, as I said, we've had the people who have been exposed to this tool. People have figured out how to use it, and we can only imagine that people appreciate having this level of input. And the other thing I wanted to point out on here, we've got a line item for recovery assistance economic development. So it really behooves us and the folks that are supporting economic development in the area to make their voices heard, to say, do we think that small business grants are a really important element of recovering from everything that we've been through? And if so, can we find a way to include that dollar amount and maybe even boost it up a little bit? And here, I just wanted to show you. So now I'm in the green because I took some big ticket items out of there, and now I'm under the dollar amount and I can submit it now. So just wanted to really bring that to your attention. Again, you can direct folks to greatergroton.com, but you can tell them that among all the tools that are in the projects that are on here, and we hope that they click on a bunch of them, but the one that we're really focused on right now is how to spend this $8.6 million, trying to optimize the kind of input that we get in terms of numbers and representative exposure. And I'm happy to answer a couple questions. Just to say it really does do well on a phone. It's designed to work on a phone as well.
Questions?
It's nice, Sam. I like the whole structure of it and the flexibility it gives. It gives the end user or the constituents a good chance of trying to adjust this budget individually and trying to really grasp the number of things that they have to budget out, different kind of monies, and how to play with this and understand to some degree how things works at your end and trying to put a square peg in a round hole to some degree. So I think this is an excellent tool. Thank you for envisioning it and putting it out there. Is there a time frame that this needs to be finalized?
Sure, you bet, George. Thanks. And it has been a team effort. The Long-Term Recovery Committee meets in mid-March. We're really focused on trying to, during the month of March, try to collect as much data as we can. If they finalize a deadline at some point, we'll try to get that out to folks. I've been including this in the newsletter. We actually expect it to be in the paper this week as well, the day. So as much as we don't have a deadline, we're really aimed at trying to get as much input during the month of March as we can, just to equip the Long-Term Recovery Committee. And again, it's a difficult task for the Long-Term Recovery Committee. So we're just, this is one tool to give them information. We're just trying to equip them to make a very sound recommendation to the town council. But a theme that we come back to is, we've got this dollar amount. We're going to be judged 5-10 years from now on how this is allocated, and to what degree does it represent an investment that somehow boosts capacity in town. And that's the hope, that some of these things end up making it, moving that dial in the years to come. And when we look at these dollar amounts, I think it's a healthy exercise for folks from the public to look in here and to realize there's trade-offs with everything that you do. And these decisions are gonna have to be made. We'd love to just get as much public input as we can. So thanks, George.
So two other questions. One, I didn't notice how you can sign on to this. Can somebody up in Waterford just jump into this website and play around some numbers and submit it to you as well?
We in this case, we ask where folks live, and not to say that it has fail-safe with that regard, but we can segment the data that comes in if we feel like it was distorted in any way. And actually, we can even track IPs if that's what it comes down to. But at this point, it's really only being promoted in Groton, and we don't expect any other issues. We expect that it's the kind of thing that appeals to the folks in Groton. So we really want it as widespread as we can.
So I noticed that when you clicked over there, you showed broadband. Currently, there's federal money coming down the pipeline, already come down the pipeline for broadband enhancement. And if I'm not wrong, that application would expire this week or next week. And that is, Connecticut is supposed to receive $5.38 billion of Connecticut Infrastructure Fund. And broadband is part of that variety of things. And as I see that if you can click that again, Sam. Where the
Sure.
broadband was.
If I could just address that, George. So basically, as I said, this is being used as input for the long-term recovery committee. And it really feeds into this needs analysis. So at the time that they move forward with a recommendation to town council, part of that process will be to create detailed applications or requests for this data. And so a part of that assessment includes the question of, can you get this money from another source? And that will allow the long-term recovery committee to allocate it in ways where it's really going to make the most difference, because it's the best funding source. And that'll be true for everything that's in here.
So I believe I'm happy to send you some information as well, but several of these federal monies have deadline in March. And if this recovery committee is supposed to review this, so for example, that $1 million, according to that infrastructure fund that is coming for Connecticut, is too low of a bracket. The bracket would have been much higher, and that applies to the city of Groton as well. So it may behoove, if I send it to you, to readjust that amount for some of these things. Plus, it is also worthwhile for the recovery committee to see what those funding up. It's almost as if you have to ask for it to claim it, but what's allocated is $5 billion to Connecticut State, and it's different programs. And if each municipalities don't ask for that one of those various items, you don't get it. That's basically it. You got to walk there and show your bowl and say, "Can I have more, sir?"
Thanks, George. I'm happy to work with you offline as well with that. You're welcome to send it to me, and we've got
I'll send it to you.
Other staff members that are involved. And feel free to chime in, Paige.
Paige?
Thanks. I just wanted to reiterate what Sam was saying. I know there's significant federal money available. This tool was used to simply gauge some public input. And it is specific, it is exclusive to COVID response. So the categories that are listed, they actually came straight out of the federal legislation, and broadband is one of those. Actually, it's our understanding that that we probably exceed community-wide, we probably exceed the standard as stipulated for broadband speed. We probably aren't able to use the ARPA funding community-wide for broadband because our broadband service is probably better than what the federal legislation was targeting. They were targeting maybe rural areas, low-income areas that basically had no internet access.
Well, there were two parts to that. Okay, so now I get it. So this is ARPA, and the other one is called CIF. So East Hartford tapped some of that ARPA money to create the fastest broadband in this country. I think it was in the Hartford Journal, whatever the local newspapers. It's already in there. So they were able to harness that to this. But the CIF on its own has some more money for broadband again, just for that example. And I'm sure for all the other stuff as well.
Sounds like that's something you gotta send over, George.
Yeah, sorry?
You want to send that over to me?
Yeah,
and I'm happy to talk about it with you, and we can bring other staffers in as well.
I'm gonna, just because I happen to be on the long-term recovery committee, Sam, what's the total number of people that have participated in the simulator? Do we have an idea at this point? I know the number was last meeting, but
yeah, we're over. I think we're well. Let's just say that we've had exposure where we've had a few hundred people actually open up the tool and have access to it. Register to look at it. Of those few hundred, I think it's fewer than 100 have completely done the exercise, filled it out, and submitted it. We're thrilled with all the input. we obviously would love to get that to be, a higher number this month. And again, it's all digital. When you have a situation like this, you got a single link. If you can send it to your network, post it on social media, send it to the businesses that you've talked to, all those things can add up really quickly.
So that was one of the points that was brought up at the last committee meeting, that people were concerned about the numbers and we need more people, voicing their opinions and such like that. And it is what it is. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted Sam to present it, because this is something, it's twofold. People know that the funds are somewhere, and if they want voice on it, you talk to anybody, send it to them. Say, hey, here's a way of you getting direct link, comes right to the committee in the report. But also, if you go back to the homepage for the Greater Groton that gets you here, there's a whole list of other things there. So you listen to someone that talks about the parking in Mystic, you refer them to this. That's what I see as this is a resource. This is a great way of saying, hey, I hear you. Go on to Greater Groton. There's a whole section on parking in Mystic, and maybe that'll give you some of the information you're looking for. Try to funnel them into this resource that we're offering out. So, but ARPA is a perfect example of they know the money's coming, but it's like, oh, they're just going to spend it. We are looking for input on it. So.
Yep, I appreciate that, Bill. That's exactly right. Appreciate anything that people can do to get the word out. And if you have questions, you're welcome to follow up with me as well.
I love the Greater Groton page. I think it's one of the best ones anything that's from a resource, just to refer to it is just like it. I've pulled up before on my phone for people to look at, and graphics are great and information is very easy accessible. So
great. Thanks, Bill.
Sam, I
That's
just
great.
forwarded to you the bipartisan infrastructure legislation. It's called Bill. I
Okay.
just sent it to you, so you should have it.
Susan, did you have a comment? I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say it was great, Sam. I appreciate all this information. It's very helpful to hear you provide that in more detail.
You bet. Thanks, Susan.
Sure.
Okay, chair report. Just to let everyone know, because I did put a request in when we approved our goals and annual report, and the town council has actually accepted, I guess, extended an invitation for presentation of it. It was going to be March, but actually it was good for me that I got pushed out. So it's going to be on May the 3rd. So anyone that wants to put it on their calendar, just to, I'm going to give the presentation as we had stated, and any questions and feedback they have. But I would encourage any of you guys, if you'd like to include yourselves also, because I think it's better that it's coming from more than just me. I'm getting
Is
to
it
be
usually at the beginning of their meeting typically?
I'm going to lobby for that. I'm going to lobby for that because I've been through enough of their stuff at this point. I just can't stay up that long.
Yeah. I'd be happy to attend. Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah, I don't want them to bury me at the end and be like, okay, where am I? So
You have 2
as
seconds.
I
to
said,
give
I
it.
think that's a step in the right direction. And also, I give the summary as we laid out there, but that doesn't mean we don't put in other points that are come up. And I know one of them that I've had discussions with, and I think everyone kind of has is where do they see the EDC? What are they, other than we're supposed to be reaching out, is what is our real purpose, especially given all the different development and such that's coming in. And because I think my opinion is the communication to us could be better. We're finding out things, down the road, and all of a sudden it's already, and we're just being brought in at that point in time. And that's not the best use for us as a resource.
That's an issue.
For what they're asking us to do. Robert?
Just quick, is there a liaison between, I know that in the past it was liaison between the town council and us. Is that renewed or?
Well, it's
That's
supposed to
something that,
be, yeah, we're supposed to have somebody, but we haven't had anybody recommended, I think.
we had 2 in the past. One was Leanne. Leanne went to RTM. I believe Leanne is supposed to be representing the RTM now as a liaison to us. And I don't know if they've reappointed someone else to do it.
And it
We
was
used to have it
Rachel
at every meeting.
Franco.
I'm sorry,
It was
yeah,
Rachel-
Rachel was. And,
Yeah,
and
and I think that we can, is there somebody we can sort of, ask, to, get them to offer a liaison to the council?
absolutely. And I'll be happy to put that through John Burke, because I was kind of waiting for the council,
Yeah.
because they did have little changeover and such, and different positions. And, I did press Jill about getting one for RTM, and then Leanne got appointed there. So, that'll be there.
Yeah.
So, yes, Robert.
The other, just to add on to that, they may be the earlier point about giving us a sort of feedback on how we did presenting the data center information. So after the town council makes their decision, they could let us know if they had any commentary on how we supported them.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right up front is they were the ones that put the request in that we actually hosted, Larry and myself. And I just took it. I said, yes, we will do that, because that's what was a request from the town council. So we are willing to do what they're requesting of us, but we got to just get a better perspective of exactly where do they see us in all this, and to help better define what our purpose is here. Because a lot of us go through this as what are we actually doing as a purpose, as opposed to reaching out to businesses. So anything else? And I have become more involved in other areas of the town with my EDC hat on, just to make you aware. As I said, the long-term recovery, I agreed to do that, because I think we should have a voice there. And I will do my best to always get you guys in the loop beforehand, even if I can't do it with a meeting. I'll have Lauren send out, just so you guys are kept in the loop. And if any feedback, please send it back, because that's one of the other voices that we have at this point. So
Thank you, Bill, for your time.
it's my time's getting slimmer and slimmer.
Well, thank you for being so engaging and paying attention to everything on our behalf. Thank you.
And with that, I'm going to pass on to Paige and the staff report.
Okay, thank you. We have definitely spent a lot of time talking about ARPA, and the 3 bulleted items at the top of a monthly report deal with that. But I do want to basically state we have a new ARPA coordinator, Kevin Fitzgerald. Basically, as Sam alluded to, we've been trying to kind of cobble our staffing together in dealing with ARPA, and it's a heavy lift, to be frank. So we're really happy to have a dedicated coordinator to help us, and he's definitely hit the ground running in working with our department. He started on February 7th. As Sam indicated, the Long-Term Recovery Committee has indicated that we need to do a longer period of time in getting some of the input from the public. Ultimately, that will be wrapped into a needs assessment, a document that people can put their hands on and actually see what it is that our information indicates. Another key point, though, regarding Greater Groton and the budget simulator, please use your networks to distribute. It's more than just verbal, but we have standard information, and if that's something that you could help us with in distributing it through your social media networks, email, what have you, we would really greatly appreciate that. Just let one of us know if you need something and we can give it to you. But also, I know that Lauren has pushed it out often with Facebook. So if you have that access as well, try to find that and forward it on to your friends and network. In terms of marketing, we always have our monthly newsletter. Sam has some highlights in the monthly report. Basically, he was talking about a new business that Adam Young is launching, ATY Confections, which is in the Standard Building in Mystic. Also talked about spotlights with new businesses and owners such as Fields of Fire, also a new wooden kayak business in town as well. Within the monthly report, you'll see an attachment regarding a presentation that was provided to the RTM on February 9th. And it was important for us. People tend to focus on these large projects, whether it's data center, Mystic Education Center, but there are a lot of smaller to medium-sized projects that actually make a significant difference to town. And we did focus on those projects that are basically nearing completion, have been completed, or are significantly through the pipeline. So I certainly am not going to go through that PowerPoint, but if you want to look at it, if you have any questions, let me know. What it does is show the pre-improved tax value and assessed value, and then the post-improved values. And as an aggregate, at the end of the PowerPoint, you'll see that there's a net increase to the town as a result of these projects, roughly $1.5 million. So these do tend to add up, and they are significant over time. And that value, of course, is year over year. It'll be every single year. It's not a one-time hit to our grand list. We've already talked about data centers, so I think I'm going to pass over that. Mystic Education Center, we are dealing with mediation right now. Actually, today was the first day of mediation. Involved Respir Homes, but it also involved the Blue Lotus Group. In terms of our other projects, we're still awaiting the agreement for Groton Heights with Thayer Mahan to go before the council. Regarding the Gold Star Highway project, same status on that, but we are in communication with AR Builders regarding their plans to advance that multifamily development. Triton Square, still in an appeal at this given time after receiving their zoning approval. Colonel Ledyard's school actually is progressing quite quickly. He is preparing to submit his site plan to the city, and also will be going before the town council to show his overall renderings and designs for that particular redevelopment project. And I think the last thing, I always tend to end with the unemployment rate. We're still low. It's kind of flatlined from December to January. We're always a month behind with our labor statistics, but Groton's at 3.8, which is not bad in comparison to where we were months ago. So that concludes my report. If anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to try to provide answers.
Thank you, Paige. No questions? Okay. Liaison reports.
Report.
Oh, Stephen, how are you tonight?
Very well, thank you. Greetings from the first and finest submarine base of the United States Navy. Today is the 107th birthday of the Navy Reserves, just kind of a neat little factoid to throw out there to start with. This last Monday, Chief of Naval Operations Mike Gilday came to town and toured EB and also sub base. Was up at the sub school and also down touring our waterfront, and got on the USS South Dakota for a tour, and I think he had dinner there or lunch or something on the boat, which is kind of interesting. He toured with Joe Courtney, so that was a nice visit. I gave you my report. I'm going to try and shorten things up here. I know you're running a little later than usual. Quick update on our IGSAs. We're doing really well. We are in the final throes of one that we're going to have with the Capital Region Council of Governments. This one's going to be for basically being able to access all of the state contracts that exist. There's a whole bunch of them from all kinds of different services and products. And we're really excited about that. That's going to be a big money saver and time saver for the base. So we're excited about that. And another big one that we're working on and getting pretty close to the finish line as well, we believe, is one with Groton Utilities. They're going to take care of our water testing. We have to test the water in our housing and on base annually or biannually, depending on where it is. So they'll be handling that, hydrant flushing and testing, some emergency repairs, backflow and cross connect testing, which we need to do every year. some construction activities and other things. And we expect to save significant money with that IGSA as well. And of course, we love dealing with Groton Utilities. It's just a real friendly group and very responsive. So we're excited about that. And the last one we're looking at is one with the state of Connecticut to do the maintenance of the swale area in front of the base that you see along Route 12. It's kind of getting full of sediment. So we're working with them to do that. So that's good. We're also working with the town of Groton as well, possibly on one for paving and some other things. So that one's in process as well. So they're all going really well. And we're really excited about that. Let's see, what else do I want to mention? The Subforce Museum education team went out to the Charles Barnum Magnet School back on February 24th and gave a little lesson to the kids, and I guess they enjoyed it. Talked about a day in the life of a submariner. So that was interesting, interesting thing that they did. So I guess that's all I'll say. I got a couple other things here in the write-up. We had a celebration of Black History Month last month, which was good. We had a special meeting and a special meal in the galley, and we spoke about a lot of the trailblazers and African American trailblazers in the U.S. Navy. There's a little chart there on my handout which lists some of them. Very interesting history there. So with that, I'll hand it back over to you unless somebody has any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks, Steve.
And Aaron.
Thank you, Commission. Thank you, Bill. So I submitted my report, so I'll let you guys see that. And unfortunately, I think the only thing I'm going to highlight is actually not good news. I tried to foreshadow it maybe slightly last month about the higher than the normal energy markets. You may have even read about the energy markets being pretty high lately. We're now basically forecasting sustained higher than normal energy costs in the electric markets, and that will force a purchase power adjustment and transmission cost adjustment increase, most likely occurring or beginning in April, where GU is happy and pleased that we were able to get through the winter and make it through the heating season for the most vulnerable of our population. But unfortunately, heading into the spring, it isn't a force an increase. We're always sensitive to price increase. This is a per unit increase. It's for all customer classifications, residential, commercial, industrial. So we definitely feel for our customers, especially with the inflation rates the way that they are. But I thought I would break the news to the commission. You're probably the first to hear it. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions though that anybody has.
Thank you, Aaron.
Real quick, Aaron. On that.
Aaron, is there a, oh, sorry, Sam.
Justin?
Oh, let me just chime in real quick, Justin. So do you have a sense of how that compares to other regional providers?
Well, certainly, I think we still anticipate being lower than Eversource. So, I mean, we're still going to be very competitive. That and one of the lowest in Connecticut. So, from a competitive standpoint, I think we're going to be fine. But certainly, customers are going to see increases.
I'm
Thanks.
still waiting
Thanks,
for you to
Justin.
go up into Groton Long Point area so that we can have those lower rates in Eversource.
Yeah,
Come to
yeah,
no end.
we'll keep people lower than Eversource.
I could
Come to
reject
no
my
end.
whole house with the amount of money I spend a year on.
Yeah.
We're not even a year.
And thank you, Aaron. Actually, Groton Long Point does have Groton Utilities, so
Oh, well, not
No
in
ink-
Crosswinds.
no ink
Crosswinds
doesn't.
I know. Justin,
Yeah,
your
no,
hands up.
no ink doesn't.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Aaron,
That's what I meant.
You're more than welcome here.
Awful.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Aaron, do you, my restaurant
Aaron.
does have Groton Utilities. Is
Yes.
it a flat fixed percentage rate increase or?
completely based on volume, so it will be a per
Okay.
kilowatt hour adjustment on everybody's bill.
So it's not a flat percentage, it's per
No.
kilowatt. Okay,
Yep. So if you can conserve energy, that will definitely help mitigate any impacts.
okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. I know you're just the bearer of the bad news. You didn't create it. Okay.
Yeah, it's part of the world we live in, I think, at the
You
moment.
got it.
No bad news.
Any other business to come before the commission tonight?
I could.
Craig?
Just wanted to compliment Paige and John Reiner on the report they put forward to the RTM. And with that, raise a question, which is, it feels like there's a certain amount of pushback against economic development in town, sometimes or often in each community that might have certain development. There's a certain not in my backyard kind of a reaction. I may be overstating it, but wonder how we help the town to know how much impact, positive impact there is from building the tax base and helping the town to communicate that so that we wind up with a balanced look at economic development rather than I don't actually care about economic development because I don't want this particular project to go on in my particular neighborhood.
It is the age-old problem.
But I think we've got a piece of evidence from what Paige and John put together that is useful. And so I'm just wondering how it gets out there so that there are balancing factors out there. I agree with you. It's going to be an age-old factor and will continue to be.
Well, Craig, I think we can put in our input, but that is not, that's more planning department than any decision we make.
So I would just,
Robert?
I would just add, this gets back to the importance of the feedback from the town council. The more feedback we can get from them to be on record about what the quality and value added we're giving, the more we can adjust the messaging appropriately. To step aside of all political avenues, we're just presenting the facts and getting messaging back from those we report to about whether it's been effective or not, and helpful and constructive.
Agreed on that. And that's really all we can do. But Craig, your point's well taken also, because I don't think we do a very good job of really showing, the positives that have occurred. The reason why we don't hear about a lot of that stuff is the ones that have gone forward don't fall under the town council's purview. It's the ones that go into the town councils when they become political issues. And now we're involved in something like that. So I think working with the town council on these things will be to our benefit and also to theirs and the town's benefit. Paige?
Thank you. And I appreciate, Craig, your point. We're all on the same team. And we've talked in the past about business outreach and initiatives like that. We really need the EDC to assist in distributing information, whether it's the budget simulator or information that has been developed, a report from the department. We definitely cannot do it alone. And I do respect that point that it'd be great to get some guidance from the council when the annual report is presented. But it is really important that we rely on you and the community in dealing with not only business owners and property owners, but the entire citizenry, so that they understand what economic development is. It's not about bringing in the next big Pfizer or EB. It's about redeveloping Groton into the next chapter, capturing the workers that come here every day and converting them into residents, hopefully year-round residents. It's about the whole package. So I just want to put my 2 cents in. I think that's a sensitive point, Craig. We would like as much assistance as possible, if that means having scheduled forums like we've done in the past with plastics or data center or anything. I think anytime that we can be proactive or get help from the EDC to be proactive is far better than just being reactive. So thank you.
Thank you, Paige.
I agree with that. There's a lot going on that's amazing, and a lot of hard work went into all the successes in the community. To your credit, and John and the department.
But a lot of it is good PR for what we have done, and we being the commission prior to me even being part of it, and the town has done. And like, the PR needs to be a little better. Just saying.
Well, that's why we speak out to people, because I'll tell you, the one feedback I get and the ones you'll never hear from are all for it. But they're going about their business. So you don't hear the people, yeah, I really like the idea that we're lowering taxes by, you will hear it from the other side. So.
No,
I
you
think
only hear
PR
people, you only hear people complain.
Yeah, so, but that's here nor there. I think Paige is right on with, is all these different tools that the staff provides to us is talking points for us to be able to at least reach out and say, hey, here's something you don't know about, and just have those conversations. So. All right, well, I thank you all for tonight. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you
Good
all.
night.
Everybody.
Thank you, everyone.